So one day, this guy has a life-changing realization. The world is ending, the apocalypse is coming, and he's the only one who can save everyone. So let's call him Roach. Roach is a local preacher, he's really charismatic, and a lot of people love him. But one day, he gets into a disagreement with the church he preaches at, and they kick him out. Here's the thing though, Roach is a holy spiritual being, so he isn't gonna let this stop him. And he decides to start his own organization, his own commune, away from everyone. So he asks some of his followers from his old church if they'll move out into the woods with him so that they can start a commune and he can save them that way. And surprisingly, about 12 of them agree to do it. So then Roach and these 12 followers, they pack up everything and they move out of the city and into the woods and they build like a little log cabin and eventually some other structures. So there they are, living out in the woods. And he's preaching to them every day. And these followers love Roach. I mean, he's gonna save them from the apocalypse. In fact, they love him so much, he eventually convinces 8 of the 9 women in the group to marry him, all at the same time. So now Roach has 8 wives, and of course he's smashing with all of them, because I guess he says he needs to, because the apocalypse is coming and he's gotta help repopulate the world. And so he starts making babies with all these women. And within a few years, he's got over 20 kids living out there in that commune with them. So now the group has grown to about 40 followers total. But then, slowly, over time, Roach starts drinking more and more, because I guess this holy spiritual being drinks a lot. And little by little, he starts to run this commune like a dictatorship. He's mean to his followers, he's violent, he tortures them, he punishes the members by hitting them, sometimes with a belt, sometimes with a hammer. Sometimes he'll take a pew-pew and he won't shoot at you, but he'll shoot near you. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Roach also says he has special healing powers. And when his followers are sick, he'll perform amateur surgery on them himself, often making their condition worse. Not to mention there's all kinds of SA and abuse going on there that I won't even begin to describe here. Yet, none of his followers leave, because Roach is a holy spiritual being and he's absolutely going to save them from the coming apocalypse. Spoiler alert, the apocalypse isn't coming. So 2 or 3 years pass and the group is still out there. And one day, an outsider joins them. This guy. And they let Guy into the group, but Guy is admittedly a little nutty. So naturally, Roach puts him in charge of babysitting. So there Guy is one day, babysitting one of their 2-year-old toddlers, Samuel, and Samuel suddenly starts crying, and he won't stop. So Guy, who's a little nutty, he doesn't know what to do. So he starts punching him, and he injures him severely. And then Roach finds out about this, and Roach is like, oh, well, I have special holy healing powers, so I can fix Samuel's injuries. And then Roach decides that some of these injuries can be healed with a circumcision for some reason. So Roach goes to circumcise Samuel, and him, not knowing what the he's doing, he gives Samuel alcohol because he doesn't have any anesthesia. So he forces Samuel to drink a bunch of alcohol, and pretty quickly, Samuel gets sick from alcohol poisoning and dies. Then Roach gets mad and blames Guy for Samuel dying. And he decides that Guy needs to be put on trial by the commune and punished. And that Guy's punishment will be castration. So 6 months later, this group holds a trial for Guy. And they find him guilty, and Guy agrees to accept the punishment. And then Roach gets a razor and castrates Guy. And after that, the group starts treating Guy like an outcast, and he's like, F this, and he runs away. And he escapes the commune, and he reports Roach to the police like, this guy Roach just castrated me, and also a kid died. So then soon enough, police come out to the woods, and they raid the commune. And they arrest Roach and some of his followers for going along with everything, and they're all found guilty and sent to prison, and the commune is ordered to disband. Oh, but it's not even close to being over. So Roach is in prison for about 1.5 years, and some of his followers wise up and leave. But some of them don't. And after Roach gets out, he goes straight to his remaining 22 followers. And they move the commune to a new location where no one can bother them. Now, this new location is where it really gets crazy. The punishment gets worse, the torture gets worse, the crazy surgeries get worse. But it's fine, y'all, because Roach is gonna save them from the coming apocalypse. Now, at one point, one of his wives, this woman, Gabby has a 5-month-old who's also Roach's kid. And one morning, the 5-month-old won't stop crying. So Roach orders them to leave the kid outside in a wheelbarrow in the freezing cold for hours. It's about 15 degrees outside. And of course, the kid doesn't survive. And then another day, another one of his wives, Solange, she starts having stomach pain. So then, of course, Roach, he's got to use his holy healing powers and operate on her. So he operates on her. And of course, the operation fails. And sadly, Solange passes away the next day. And then they have to bury Solange right there on the grounds of the compound. But here's where it all goes wrong for Roach. One day, he gets mad at Gabby, and he decides he's gonna make an example out of her. So he pins her down, and he proceeds to amputate her arm with a carpet knife, and then eventually a meat cleaver. And that is gruesome and horrible, and that is also the moment where Gabby decides she's had enough. It's about f***ing time. And almost 3 weeks later, Gabby is running through the woods. She has finally escaped the commune. And she runs until she somehow makes it to a nearby hospital. And the hospital staff, they see her wounds and they see that her arm is missing, and they're like, what the f***? And they report it all to the police. And then police talk to Gabby, and Gabby tells them everything about the punishments, the tortures, the crazy surgeries, the deaths. And then police, they immediately go to raid the commune. But Roach, he knows they're coming, and he's already fled out into the wilderness. And it takes about 6 weeks to find him, but eventually they do, and he finally gets arrested and charged, and ultimately he's sentenced to life. So I guess he's got to be a holy spiritual being in prison now. Until decades later, one of his fellow inmates unalives him in prison. Shout out to the apocalypse. So this girl, let's call her V. And V's an average girl, she's in junior high school, and one day she starts dating this other guy from her high school. And he's a nice boy, he likes her, let's call him HSBF. So V and HSBF date for a while and it goes pretty well. And eventually their relationship ends. Naturally, no hard feelings. And they both move on with their lives. So then fast forward to several decades later, V is all grown up, she's living a normal suburban life, she's married, she's a mom, and she starts dealing with some health issues. And these issues don't run in her family. So one day she decides to take one of those at-home 23andMe DNA tests because she wants to learn more about her health history. So she takes the test and she sends it away, and 3 to 4 weeks go by and then she finally gets her results. And the results, let's just say she learned a lot, but not about her health history. The results show that V's dad is not her biological dad. So V immediately goes to her mom and she confronts her. And her mom confirms that yes, back in the 80s, they used a fertility clinic to get pregnant, which V already knew this part. But she always thought her dad, the man who helped raise her, she thought her dad was the donor. Like their parents had both used the fertility clinic to help get the mom pregnant. And mom is like, no, that is not the case. Your dad's sauce wasn't working, so we opted to use an anonymous donor. Some anonymous Yale med student, some random guy who just donated his sauce. And yeah, it sucks that V had to find out this way, but at least she now knows the truth and there'll be no more surprises when it comes to her family history. Until V gets a message on her 23andMe account. And it's from someone who is allegedly one of her half-siblings. Because these websites, they show you who your half-siblings are. This half-sibling writes her and says that they know who their real biological father is. The original sperm donor, the alleged Yale medical student. And spoiler alert, it isn't a Yale med student. Their biological father, the donor, is this guy. Dr. Caldwell. And Dr. Caldwell was V's mom's fertility doctor. Apparently, he would tell his patients that he was using the special sauce from anonymous donors, but he was actually secretly fertilizing these women with his own sauce, without their consent. Oh, but it gets much worse. Caldwell didn't just do this with V's mom and her other half-sibling's mom. No, Caldwell did this to a lot of women. So V discovers she has 22 other half-siblings out there that they know about so far. Now, this story might sound familiar to you because I did a similar story like a few months ago, but trust me, this is not the same story. The ending to this one is a lot worse. So a year later, one night V is out to dinner with some friends. And her friends are like, hey V, what's new? And V just launches into this story. I took a DNA test and I found out my biological father's actually my mom's fertility doctor and I have like 24 half-siblings now. And her friends are like captivated on the edge of their seat. All except for one friend. That friend V went to high school with. That friend is HSBF. And HSBF is like, my parents went to a fertility clinic back in the 80s too. So HSBF goes home and he does one of those 23andMe DNA tests himself. And then he sends it off and he waits for the results. A few months later, V is packing up to go on a summer vacation with her family, and she unexpectedly gets a text, and it's from HSBF. And that text is a screenshot of his DNA test results, along with a message that says, "You are my sister." Oh, but here's the worst part. Not only did V and HSBF date in high school, they smashed. So V accidentally smashed with her half-brother. Anyway, now some of the half-siblings are actually suing Dr. Caldwell, but it's gonna be hard for him to face any justice because he's in his 80s now, he retired his medical license over a decade ago, and most importantly, because as of right now, the state of Connecticut doesn't actually have any laws against fertility fraud. Who would have thought this crazy shit was so common? Anyway, shout out to Connecticut. So this is a family vlog channel, and they're a nice, wholesome Mormon family with 6 kids, and one day they blow up and get really popular on YouTube. Things are going great for them, but then, along the way, the internet starts to notice they have a really harsh parenting style. Like sometimes the mom will withhold food from the kids as punishment.
I'm only gonna say it one more time, and then you're gonna lose the privilege to eat dinner.
She also one time took away her son's bed as punishment.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
But then, one day, the mom and the dad, they start fighting. Now the mom, her name's Ruby, and the dad, his name's Kevin. So Ruby and Kevin, they start fighting a lot. And then they start going to this relationship counselor, Hildebrandt. And so Hildebrandt gets really involved in their lives. She's their marriage counselor, she's Ruby's mentor, she and Ruby start a podcast together. Regardless, Ruby and Kevin eventually separate because their marriage is still on the rocks. It's not going well. And so Ruby grows even closer to Hildebrandt. But here's where it all gets crazy. Eventually, Ruby has 2 of her younger children move in with Hildebrandt for full-time therapy treatment. I guess it's to teach them to be more obedient kids or something. And so then Ruby and Hildebrandt create a concentration camp type setting for these 2 kids. So the kids, we'll call him 11 because he's 11, and we'll call her 9 because she's 9. And Ruby and Hildebrandt tell 11 and 9 all kinds of stuff. That they're both evil, that they're both possessed, that when they step out of line, they need to be punished, either by being denied food or being tied up and beaten. Like as a punishment, they'll make them do physical labor out in the hot summer sun without socks and shoes on. They hold their heads underwater as a punishment. They make them jump into a cactus as a punishment, and all kinds of awful stuff that I won't get into. And while they're doing all this, Ruby and Hildebrandt also run this organization on the side. An organization that gives parenting advice. And they also run an Instagram account called Moms of Truth, also dedicated to giving parenting advice. So this goes on for a while, and these poor kids are stuck in a horrible situation. Until one night, it's late and it's quiet out, and the neighbor living next door to Hildebrandt, he gets a knock on his door. And neighbor answers it, and it's 11. And 11 has duct tape on his hands and feet where he had been tied up. He also has open wounds, and he's severely malnourished. Moments before, 11 had been at the Hildebrandt house, tied up with duct tape as a punishment for something he did. And while his mom, Ruby, and Hildebrandt were in the next room not paying attention, 11 unbinds his hands and his ankles, and he sneaks up and he climbs out a window. And then he hits the ground, and then he runs as fast as he can, and he runs over to the neighbor's house. And that is when he knocks on the neighbor's door, and he asks the neighbor for help and for food and water. So the neighbor sees this kid, and he immediately calls the police.
He said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs Thursday asking for help, said he was afraid asking for police.
And pretty quickly, the police show up to Hildebrandt's house, where they find 9 there. 9 is also malnourished and looking sick. So boom, they arrest both Ruby and Hildebrandt. Here's Ruby's mugshot, and here's Hildebrandt's mugshot. So they take 11 and 9, and 2 of the other siblings, because remember, they had 6 kids. So they take 4 of the kids, and they put them in child protective care, while the 2 oldest kids are old enough to be on their own. Then Ruby and Hildebrandt, they both go to court, they each take a plea deal, and they've both been sentenced, but as of the time of me filming this video, we actually don't know exactly what that sentence is yet. But it's a minimum of 4 years and up to a maximum of 30 years, I think. And yes, I've covered this story before last year, but this is my update because they both just got sentenced. Shout out to family vlog channels, I guess.